right, so who is more popular, AOC or Joe Biden? We've got some numbers to share with you. Also, are the Democratic debate rules fair? Tulsi Gabbard does not think so. Also, Team Biden doesn't seem to want to talk about climate crisis.
Team Rising is here. They're going to talk about all of this. Andrew Feldman is a Democratic strategist. Paris Dennard is a Trump 2020 advisory board member. Welcome, guys.
Gentlemen, happy Friday to you both.
Happy Friday.
Okay, so there's this whole idea that AOC is a disaster for Democrats. She's going to cause us to lose across the map. She's going to destroy us in the presidential race, et cetera, et cetera. However, Data Progress polled swing districts. They used two separate pollsters, and they found, Andrew, that AOC has roughly the same favorability rating. I think she actually does a little bit better than Joe Biden, who's supposed to be Mr. Beloved and electable.
Look, I think AOC is, I've said this before, right? She has a passion. She is sparking new ideas across the country and a new debate. In reality, she is something that people haven't seen before. And people are tired of politics as usual. They're tired of, just going along to getting along. And she brings something different. So I'm not surprised to see this. It is a bit concerning to me, though, that their approvals are still only in the 30s. I know this, and this is, this poll showed, 38 and 38 for Biden, or 36 and 38. That's not good to have Joe Biden at 38%, regardless of how he is with AOC. But I think we'll be fine. I'm not worried about the congressional map at all. I'm actually more excited than I have been in a long time about us picking up seats than being hurt by AOC in those districts.
What do you think, Paris?
Well, I think it's a good thing. I think because her policies and the things that she espouses are so, I think, outside of the mainstream. So if the Democrats are saying that she's just as popular as the leading Democrat candidate for president on the Democrat side, that means that they're liking what she has to say. And that's going to pull Joe Biden, who doesn't want to go further and further to the extreme left, over to the extreme left to compete against what the bases want. They like and want her.
But hold on, let me ask you, Paris, though, because the Trump strategy has been very much to play to the base. And that's what worked for him in 2016, right? He got his people excited, and people who didn't always come out and vote were excited, so they came out and voted. Isn't that the same case for, going with the people who are making the case for Medicare for all, making the case for the Green New Deal, and actually getting people excited rather than, this sort of like wishy-washy, I don't really want to tell you exactly what I think model?
I don't think the people who came out in places like Michigan and Pennsylvania, these manufacturing type people who felt forgotten and left out, are going to all of a sudden look to the policies that Joe Biden is going to have to subscribe to, and that AOC is putting out and saying, you know what, I was with Donald Trump and I agree there. I'm going to go over here because you're talking sense to me. The problem with AOC, I believe, is that the things that they are putting forth are not something that outside of the extreme left of their base.
What do you base that on, though?
What do I base what on?
What do you base that on? That's not what the polling says. So what do you base it on?
Well, as a Trump supporter, I don't really buy a lot of.
You believe whatever you believe.
A lot of the polling.
Yeah.
But you look at where the country is in terms of the economy. I don't think that this election is going to be won on whether or not we're going to support the Amazon. I don't think that the election is going to be won on whether or not we can have a Green New Deal or not. It's going to be back to the basics, and it's the economy, it's jobs, and the things that when you look at the Green New Deal and these policies, they are actually things that are not going to be very good or positive for small business owners and those hardworking Americans who went over and supported President Trump, and I think might continue to support President Trump in 2020.
And to Paris's point, to put polling behind that, there's actually been a lot of swing state focus groups. The Swing State Voter Project, I believe, is the name of it, where they're putting out pretty regular focus groups of these swing voters, people who voted for Obama and then turned around and voted for Trump in 2016, and they're saying pretty much what Paris is saying, which is President Trump is supporting us on a lot of the issues. We're going to stick with him, even if the tariffs are hurting us or whatever have you. And, he's talking sense to us and not so much the AOC.
So that kind of makes the case that those aren't the people you should be most focused on.
Right, absolutely. Look, first of all, it's just important to point out that this polling we're talking about this morning was not just Democrats. This was a poll of over 1,000 regular likely voters, Democrats and Republicans. So fascinating to see that AOC is doing quite well in terms of these leaders they tested. But also, yes, yes, Crystal's absolutely right. We need a candidate that's going to bring out excitement. We lost not because Trump won extreme number of voters that we didn't in Michigan and the Rust Belt. We won because we couldn't turn out people in the cities to get them excited. We need someone that is going to fire up our base. We need people to turn out in Philadelphia and turn out in Detroit and turn out like they haven't before. That didn't happen with Hillary Clinton, and it wasn't because Trump was so inspirational. It was because we didn't have a candidate people were excited for.
So I guess this candidate is AOC because it's not Joe Biden if she's polling just the same.
My candidate is an AOC, and AOC is not running for president.
Not on the ballot,
but
so
I think that's right, correct. And
Trump wants to put her on the ballot.
And I also think she's not. People aren't thinking about AOC in swing districts. This is the reality.
So, by the way, side note: the person with the worst favorability of everyone who was tested, there's like 20 people who are tested here, is Mitch McConnell. Just saying. Anyway,
not on the ballot.
He's on the ballot in
neither
Kentucky.
is AOC, but he's on the ballot actually in Kentucky. Good point, Andrew. Okay. DNC questions raised this morning. Couple things. Number one, there's been a big push by the Sunrise Movement and a lot of other folks who wanted to see a single issue climate debate, because it's not just about, environmentalism. This is about our economy. It's about the future of the planet. It's hard to make an argument that there is any issue that is more central to the future of our lives in this country than what's going on with climate. That's certainly what Democrats see and believe. However, DNC had been resistant to this idea, and one of the people yesterday who was making the case against having a climate crisis-specific debate was Symone Sanders, who's a senior advisor to Joe Biden, even though Biden had said that he wanted to see a climate debate. So what's going on?
That was probably a gaffe, but I think that
you know what he really meant it.
I don't think he means a lot of things that he says or knows a lot of things that he says. But I think that what this is showing us is that she has a point in raising this. The DNC has issues when it comes to fairness. I mean, and Symone Sanders is a person who worked on the Bernie Sanders campaign before, and there were serious issues with Bernie Sanders and the DNC and how they changed the rules and they made it difficult for him. And so I think for the DNC, I think she's raising some serious issues in terms of their fairness and how things are applied to everyone to make it more fair for all the candidates. But at the end of the day, I think Symone Sanders and the Biden campaign are right. They know that having a full-on conversation, debate panel on climate change is not good for them because it's going to interject the more extreme parts of the party, the AOCs of the world, and that's not where I believe the American people are. So the better thing for them to do is to try to focus on things to go against President Trump and where he's strong. That is the economy. That is things like opportunity zones. That is things like the student loan debt. I mean, there are real things that are actually impacting Americans that they can feel, they can touch on an everyday basis, and I think climate change is just not, frankly, one of them.
To me, that was a little bit. We're missing a little bit of the point Symone Sanders was making. Look, I don't think it was strategically smart for Symone Sanders to get up there and do this. Why? It created all this negative headlines for the Biden campaign that they didn't need. But what Symone Sanders was saying was, look, if we go down this slope of having a climate change debate, then we're going to need to have a race debate, then we're going to have a debate focused on women's issues, and was that it just gets us down a slippery slope was her overall point when I listened to it. But I think that it still wasn't necessary for her to go.
That's her point, which goes, again, against what her boss supposedly believed. And also, look, you either believe that this is an existential crisis, which is what all the candidates are saying, or you don't. I mean, this is different than just, we're going to have a debate about every issue. Climate touches everything, and we have a very small period of time to act. I think Paris is right. Strategically, the Biden campaign looks at this debate and they say, this is not a good look for us, because they know their plan is not as ambitious in scope as many of the other candidates, especially Bernie Sanders, who just put something out, that really dwarfs everybody else's proposals, that includes 20 million new jobs as one example, so putting the economic transition at the center of this. I think they knew, Paris, that this would not be a good look for their candidate. That's the bottom line.
But here's the thing. It was not a strategically smart move for her to make headlines on this, because the vote that they took was going to fail anyways. people
Right, she didn't
internally.
have to
She didn't
say
have to do
anything.
that. It was going to go down, right? We knew that going into this. Reporters knew that going into this. The establishment, Tom Perez of the DNC, did not want this to happen.
Yeah, I do want to say we're going to come back in just a second with you guys. We got one more topic we want to get to. I do want to say Sunrise Movement did win an important victory here, which is they are going to allow the candidates to appear at these other climate town halls alongside other candidates.
And one other thing, they got Kamala Harris to change her schedule to agree to appear on CNN.
All right, they're playing us
Her
out.
opinion,
They're
so that's
playing the
fine.
music, so we got to take a quick break. We're going to be right back with the panel.